Well, hello and welcome to another Wednesday evening chat with Louise. Now, this evening's quite a deep, tricky subject. It's about twin flames, soulmates, or narcissists. And this has been something that I've had a real journey on for an awful long time. I first met the person I thought was my twin flame when I was 30, and I shall be 59 at Christmas. And they have had an effect on my life, I would say, for that entire period. What I say today comes from the heart. I understand there's a lot of people going through similar things. So this is just my journey, my story, my take. And even the person that I'm going to talk about would have a completely different take on it. It will be completely different from their point of view. But I'm really hoping that what I've learnt about it as I've gone along, because as you're going through the cycles and the processes and everything, you're looking for answers. And I really struggled for a long time, and I actually think now I've got a bit more of a handle on what it actually was. So I'm hoping, like I say, just sharing some of those years, some of those processes, if you like. Sorry, it's hard to talk about. You often find when you find a subject difficult that your throat constricts a little bit. But anyway, let's go for it. So, 30 years old, married, not particularly unhappily, not particularly happily. You know when something's just okay. I'd just completely changed my career. I'd been an antique dealer for a little while. I'd gone that transition from, I was teaching hairdressing, doing a bit of modelling back in those days, and then I was also dabbling with the antiques, and then I'd gone into full-time antique fairs. So actually it was pre-30. 30 was when we actually started a relationship. So yes, before that we actually met. I was at an antique fair, I was very new to it, and this man arrived, and I can only describe it as, you just know there's something there. Not just a spark. I think they talk about the processes of twin flames as happening. You have that yearning, that longing before, as if there's a part of you that's missing. So what do they actually say a twin flame is? Supposedly, our souls, we come into when we're born, our soul comes into that body, and that's our spiritual entity, if you like. What people believe is that a twin flame is a split soul. So half of you's in this body and half of you's in another body, and you're never going to feel complete until you two are together. Right, well, that's the theory of it. And then it goes through lots of processes. So first is that longing, not knowing where you are stage. The next one's the meeting stage. And it did feel like that. We got on so well. To be honest, when I first met him, I thought he was a bit of an arrogant knob, if I'm honest. I don't know if I can say that. Anyway, but he was really good fun. He was interesting. He was exciting. He was all the things that weren't in my marriage. Now, he was with somebody, I was with somebody. I think one of the things about us is we're actually quite loyal people. So nothing happened. We were friends, really good friends. And we were friends for a long time. And then we were away at an antique fair once, and we knew something more was going to happen. So I literally went home, told my husband, and started the divorce, because that's the way I am. He wasn't in a particularly happy relationship, and I knew for a fact his partner had got sort of somebody else. I don't know, when people aren't 100% committed, they've always seemed to have a plan A, B and C. I'm not like that. I'm an all in or all out. Well, I knew for a fact she had a plan A, B and C because she was somebody I knew. So I didn't feel guilty. Now, that's not me at all. But it's easy to make excuses for your behaviour when they're your twin flame. Anyway, it progressed. We managed to see each other. We spoke regularly on the phone. Yeah, and it went on like this. Absolutely brilliant. And then I absolutely fell for him, hook, line and sinker, if you like. And then I realised that that wasn't enough. I wasn't prepared to be not second best, but one, it didn't sit right with me that he was still with somebody else, and two, he was either in or out for me. So I gave the ultimatum, and that was it. So I walked away. I actually found the strength to walk away at that time. Then, trying to get over him, I ended up meeting the person I had my son with. Was it rebound? Yes, it definitely was. Do I absolutely adore my son? Do I regret it? No, not in any way at all. I love my son. Sorry, that kind of came out wrong. Absolutely love my son. But yes, that was part of that situation, trying to get over him. Then when my son, that relationship obviously didn't end. I ended up with a baby on my own. So when my son was 4 months old, I actually contacted the one I thought was my twin flame again and said, you know, I really regret walking away. And he said, yes, you know, come here. I'll make a go of it. We'll get together and we'll do it properly. Bearing in mind, I had a little one that was 4 months old and I was running an antique centre that was open 7 days a week. I thought about it long and hard, and then I decided I needed to be near my family and I needed to stay where I was. So that was the second time, if you like. So I suppose when you look at twin flames, you have these, they think, testing periods. Then you have the runner and the chaser. So I suppose in this one, I was the runner. I was the one that went, no, I'm off. I'm not doing this anymore. But did he chase me? No. So was it really twin flame energy? Who knows? So that went on, and then when my son was 3 years old, I met somebody else and had a long relationship with them before I decided that we were going to be together. And we decided, not just me. And yes, and we got married, and that was a long time, and yet he was still in my head. If I'm really, really honest, he was still in my head. We still talked. We still kept a friendship. I would go and work for him sometimes. And you could tell that spark was still there. Now, after a while, I realised that my relationship with my then husband it had been for the wrong reasons for both of us. And I believe if you're very unhappy in a relationship, sometimes it's better to leave, not just for yourself, but for the other person. Why be there and not be there 100%? Why actually, I hear so many people go, oh, you're so brave, you've left somebody dead low down. It's like, actually, no, that was the wrong thing to do. Don't stay there if you're going to go and have an affair. Don't stay there if you're not 100% there. Because that's not fair, not only on yourself, you're worth more than that, but actually the person you're with's worth more than that. You know, you don't go into a marriage thinking, oh, this will do for now. You actually go, oh, well, I go in 100% believing that was going to last for my life. So, you know, when I talk about it, the way I talk about it, it can sometimes seem flippant. It's not at all. I genuinely believed that when I got married, I loved that person and that was it. It was for life. So yes, it's very disappointing when you actually realise that perhaps deep down it wasn't, and you were trying to tell yourself that it was right and that was okay. I mean, that person was a good person. They were steady, they were loyal, but there was a lot of bad in there, and I have to realise that it wasn't enough for either of us. So I started talking a little bit more to this chap. I'm not going to mention his name because that's not fair. But we were talking more and more on the phone. And then I decided around the Christmas time that I just couldn't carry on in my relationship anymore. So I wasn't having a relationship with him. We were friends, talking just like we had done all those years. And then 6 months after my divorce, we got together then. and his relationship was, it would ended though they were still in the same house. So I felt this time, you know, third time lucky if you like, it was going to be fine. And then it's really started to get into what I thought was the twin flame energy. I was hook, line and sinker back in there, trying to spend as much time over there. I sacrificed my business, I sacrificed my friends, I put everything on hold because of the distance between us and me wanting to be available when he rang, because that meant so much to me, those phone calls. I would have driven for 3 hours to spend an hour and have a coffee with him and come back again. But I had to realise that his work came first and then I was fitted in. It all became very, oh gosh, sorry, I find it a bit hard to talk about it still. But I then started to question things because I was made to feel needy. I was made to feel like I was expecting too much. I was expecting, you know, I started to start questioning myself. I wasn't me anymore. I'm a really strong, independent person, and then suddenly this woman was going, oh, what do you need? What do you want? And I don't know where she came from, but I was so desperate for that love and what I thought I needed from him, because I was convinced by now that he was my twin flame. I was convinced when I'm with him, and I was in a little bubble when I was there. But when I really sit and look at it, was I happy? No, because I was constantly trying to gain his love and affection. And that's actually really sad. And again, at the expense of friendships and my work and everything was put on hold. So I remember one day, if I did anything that didn't fit into the way he saw the world, his way of punishing me was to just stop. That's it. No conversation, withdraw completely, stop communication. And because that was all I had in my life, my stupid fault, but that's how it had become, I was desolate. You know, what a great way. Just stop talking to me. Oh my gosh, did it hurt. And then I would run back, and 2 or 3 times when I should have walked away, should have picked myself respect above the floor and packed it in a bag and took it with me. I didn't. I went back and I forced the relationship to carry on. And again, I convinced myself nobody else was going to be like that. When I wasn't with him, I felt like I'd had a piece of my body missing and felt like I'd lost an arm. And then one day he called me a narcissist. And I was like, flipping heck, am I? And I had to go home and Google narcissist and start looking at that. And then I realised that a lot of what narcissists do is they twist things around to make you feel bad and make it all like it's your fault and it's your imagination. And I really was starting to question my sanity by now. So yes, this backwards and forwards, he would end it, he would say no, he'd stop speaking to me, I'd either drive miles and sit there until he'd speak to me, or I'd apologise, I'd ring, and this cycle repeated and repeated and repeated for 7 years. I can honestly say I cried more than I laughed. I was lonely most of the time, and I have no idea why I put myself through this, but I am so glad I did. At the end of it, when I really looked at it, was he a narcissist? No, he wasn't. Was I a narcissist? No. Do we have narcissistic traits? Yes, we all do. There will always be little bits of us, little facets of us that have these traits. And I think once we accept that and understand our faults as well as our positives, one of these things where looking at the bits we don't like about ourselves and being honest and seeing and taking responsibility is one of the things I have had to learn. So the fact that he's probably 30 years of my life has been given over in a way to this person, but it's also been about learning about myself, who I am. So I've looked at soul contracts. This is something that really interested me because I do believe there was something in this relationship. I believe there's been something in all the relationships I've had that I've had to learn from. And I found a book called Soul Contracts here by Daniel McKinnon. There we go. And it talks about how, and this is the spiritual aspect of it, so I do understand if you want to switch off now. But for me, everything is predestined before you're born. So everybody you're going to meet is all part of the journey. It's what you've signed up for. It's what you're coming back to learn. And if you don't learn it the first time with the first one, they'll send you another one until you do learn it. And oh my gosh, when I look back at the patterns that have gone along through my life, I've been shown some amazing lessons and totally chose to ignore them and did it all over again and again and again. So I can't blame anybody because one, I signed up for this, and two, I should have learned the first time. It would have been so much easier. Do I like who I am today? A lot more. Do I accept that there is that yin and yang, that good and bad about me? Absolutely. Do I try to be a better person? Yes, I do. Do I blame that person? No, I don't. And when I look at soulmates, now people think of soulmates as lovey-dovey and all that. I actually believe soulmates are people that you meet in your life. You have a connection. They can either come in for a week, a month, years, but they are again part of this soul contract that you're here to learn and to make friends, and it resonates. One of my other friends, she's lovely, and she came to a course I was on, and she walked in the room. She's quite a lot younger than me, and I just knew we were going to be friends. We get on so well, and I really believe that is a soulmate connection. Past lives, whatever you want to think of, I do believe there is some karmic things going on. So what can I say? Don't get confused between twin flames. I don't believe in twin flames. I'll be honest with you. I believe that we are all facets of the source, if you like, and our souls are facets of it's a bit hard to explain before going off and you're thinking I'm a complete nutter. But if you read a book called The Divine Matrix, I can honestly recommend that. But what they believe is that our soul is in multi-dimensional timelines. And it's a bit like a hologram. If you split a hologram into lots and lots of little pieces, every single little piece of that hologram is the same as the whole. So you see a whole person there, but you'd see exactly that same whole person in that little piece. And they're all you in your incarnations and different timelines. So I don't see how my soul could be in another person in this life, but that's my take on it. Soulmates, absolutely, I completely believe in them. I think they are to do with the soul contracts, and I think that's something, they come into our life, blessings, lessons, you name it. And then I also think, and I think this is the one most important part of this chat tonight, is that often people mistake a twin flame for when a narcissist meets an empath. And there are so many people out there, and as an empath, and I believe I am empathic because I can walk into a room and I know if you don't like me, and I know if you're talking to me and you're telling me rubbish. So and I feel that from a lot of people. So yes, don't be stuck in an abusive relationship thinking it's a twin flame relationship, because it isn't. And I've heard people that are torturing themselves. They are being really abused. A narcissist is somebody that's unwilling to even recognise somebody else's feelings or their needs. They're impatient, they're often angry. Narcissists will often Again, they'll cut you off from family and friends. They will start to control money, control how you look, what you wear. They will erode your self-confidence. That is not healthy. It's not a healthy relationship. So all I would say is ask yourself, are you happy? Are you happy? Because you deserve to be happy. Look at where you are. And if you need help, please reach out and go and get help, because it is hard to leave a narcissistic relationship. I've had friends that have had the experiences of it, and I think I'm very lucky that I've been able to work out that mine wasn't a twin flame. Equally, it wasn't a narcissistic relationship. It wasn't healthy, but it was a soulmate and it was a lesson. That's my belief. And I take the responsibility for my part in it as well. But if you're in a toxic relationship, then you need to get out and you need to get help. And I know that's easier said than done, but I would end this by saying, please reach out. There is help out there, and don't be confused thinking you've got to suffer to be loved, because you don't. I hope that's helped in some way. Thank you.